Hi there! You may have noticed that I'm a Batman fan because, I just made a Batman video, but you probably didn't know that I'm also a medical student. And sometimes I just read comics and I just because they're just wrong. I know, I'm not looking for realism when it comes to comic books. I mean, I love comic books because they're fiction. I'm not gonna find an alien from another planet who shoots laser beams out of his eyes but has a heart of gold in any area of the universe in this reality. But I can find that in the reality of my favorite comic books. Besides that, I can't stop my brain from going to medical mode sometimes and pointing out just errors, just big errors. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting to share this with you guys. Now, these two examples come from the current 2016 Tom King Batman run, so if you haven't caught up to that to at least chapter 59, then I guess I don't suggest this for you. If you don't care about catching up, then keep watching this video. I'll be doing recaps. So yeah, without further ado, I'll be getting on to the rest of the video right after the intro. So, this first medical inaccuracy comes from issue number 59 of the Batman 2016 series. I'm doing this one first because it's kind of easier and less to explain. So allow me to recap. Basically, Batman goes down to Arkham Asylum to talk to Bane. That turns into him beating the crap out of Bane. It shows the fight page by page. And there's this really big moment during the fight where Batman headbutts Bane and there's a huge crack sound. And then that's when it gets really intense, right before Commissioner Gordon comes in and is like, yo dude, I can't just have you beating up my patients or whatever, so you gonna have to leave. And then later on, we see Bane on a stretcher and a medical lady is saying medical words. At first she mentions a hemorrhage or something, which okay, believable. He did go through some blunt force trauma to his head area. Batman hit him pretty hard. And then she says that she sees damage to the parietal occipital lobe of his brain, which what? What? You what? Allow me to explain. The parietal lobe of your brain is located all the way at the top, and the occipital lobe is located all the way at the back. And it's also kind of known for being difficult to injure due to the fact that it's located all the way in the back of your head. Unless somebody walks up behind you and smacks you with a bat or something, that they're probably not going to be aiming for the back of your head. It's more likely that they'll hit you front on, which, kind of happens multiple times throughout this fight. It seems more believable that he would have some type of injury to the frontal lobe of his brain, which is the front one, which, if he got punched in the face, would probably be more likely to get damaged. There isn't anywhere during this fight where it shows that he falls back onto the top of his head or onto the back of it, so it's kind of really hard for me to believe that he would have damage to the occipital lobe, and not just the frontal lobe, especially considering that the, big intense part of this fight is the headbutt. There's a giant crack sound, which is probably most definitely just the sound of Bruce cracking Bane's nose, but what? Now, I can kind of see that his, occipital lobe would get damaged if he experienced a type of brain injury known as a coup contra coup, and that's kind of when you experience blunt force trauma to the front of your head. For this example, let's say Bruce headbutting Bane. Then his brain would have shot to the back of his head and bruised, but I have no idea why the top of his head would become injured. I just can't see it happening. To be fair, I don't know if you can just look at a person and diagnose them with the coup contra coup, but I bet if you can look at a person from front on and see that they have a brain injury to the back of their head, then you can probably just look at the front of them and see that the front of their head has a brain injury too. I 100% don't understand why they didn't just go with the frontal lobe, because it's literally the front one, and we see him get headbutted in the front of his head. Anyway, on to the next example. So, this next example comes from Batman issue number 34 to 35. Essentially, Bruce again married a Catwoman, and there's more specificities. There's more reasons as to why they're going to see Talia, but they're going to see Talia for whatever. She's in a desert. If you don't know who Talia al Ghul is, daughter of the head of the demon, part of the League of Assassins, has a bunch of assassin homies. So they go down to meet her, and obviously she has bodyguards or whatever who are gonna protect her. So they end up with a fight with a bunch of guards. During this fight, Bruce gets stabbed in like the forearm, and he pulls a knife out, which kind of like made me slightly annoyed, but I was like, okay, I understand, it's a comic book. Later on, there's a scene, which is obviously done for like super cool dramatic effect because she stabs Bruce in the hecking back with the sword. And then she's like, Catwoman, do you have a sword? And she's like, I do not. And Talia's like, well, get a sword. And then she pulls the sword out of Bruce's back, and she's like, I got a sword now. And like, you know, it's like super cool comic book thing that happens, but Bruce would literally 100% die if this ever happened to him. Allow me to elaborate more on the situation. So he was stabbed in the back. Catwoman pulls the sword out of his back. Then they have a fight. Bruce is bleeding out during this entire fight. Then the fight ends. And then Damian Wayne, who just so happens to be a part of this whole situation, mentions that it's going to take them 14 hours to get home. Bruce would die. He would 100% not survive the situation. Talia also gets stabbed in the back and pulls the knife out, but I think that she's more likely to live considering the fact that she's like around her people that would probably be able to provide her some medical assistance. So, if you ever get impaled with an item, never, ever pull it out. That is the worst thing you could do. Get impaled with something, the fact that it's stuck inside of you kind of like stops other injuries from happening and keeps everything in place. So when you take that out, it's just kind of like ripping a dam and letting all of the blood rush through. You will die. If you ever get impaled with an item, what you do is you stabilize in place with dressing and gauze, and you call EMS, 911, whatever you can. That kind of would have been like a disappointing issue to his life. Like he has this decades and decades of fighting crime, and then like he gets stabbed with one sword and it's all over. But yes, he would have died. That's my point. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed me talking about Batman and medical stuff and how they don't mix well. Now, obviously, that's not stopping me from reading comic books because they're both two of my passions and I just wanted to talk about them. So, speaking of passions, how about you go read my comic? Links below. You can follow me on Instagram and stuff for art and updates on videos, and subscribe to see the next video. Hit the notification bell to know when it comes around. And yeah, I hope you're having a nice day. I hope you don't get impaled. I hope nobody stabs you with a sword. But you know, if you get stabbed with a sword, you know what the heck to do. Have a nice day. Make sure to eat and hydrate because it's hecking summer. And I'll see you in the next video. Adios.